that story when somebody told you to come meet them?
He's like, why don't you come down to my hotel and we can just hang out on the beach and we can chat and talk about the job and just put on a suit and tie. Looks at me and he's like, what are you doing?
How am I supposed to juggle Med Device House? How am I supposed to juggle a career and want to become better, but also be a great parent?
I was supposed to be at her recital, but I knew I was out of town and she got super sad. She's like, Dad, why are you always traveling? We are creating an AI platform for surgery, truly redefining what surgery does look like.
Don't even post on LinkedIn for a year. And you have 30,000 followers plus. You're getting all these people to watch you, and you disappear.
Dude, I just vanished.
Welcome back to First Year in Medical Device Sales. I am your host, Jacob McLaughlin, and today I have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Johnny Caffaro, who is the hottest thing on the internet right now, is blessing us with his presence, coming here to Scottsdale to spend time with us, to not only get a catch back up, because if you guys have been following our channel at New to Medical Device Sales, Johnny was on it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago to this date, actually.
Yeah. Really? 2 days to the date?
Yeah.
So much has happened in those 2 years.
Yeah.
And we're going to really dive in a lot deeper. So first off, I don't have the justice to even try to introduce yourself. So I'm going to have you introduce yourself. And can you just kind of tell the people a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm stoked to be here, man. Love Arizona. The weather is amazing. It was just snowing in Utah. So I was just like, yeah, I want to get out of here. Like you said, I'm Johnny Caffaro, and I grew up, I always say that my whole life was in the medical industry because I started off with a hip disease, much like Forrest Gump. Had braces on my legs when I was little. I tried to run really fast. They never came off. And so then I got into the industry as a sales rep for Stryker. I saw that, I just knew that there had to be something to do with hips and a selling or a career, because I was just like, man, I had to go through a lot of stuff with my own. And so then I looked up companies and tried to see what the best was, and I found Stryker was one of the top companies to get into, and everybody wants to get into Stryker.
Everybody just thinks that's the only company
that's the
in
only
medical
company,
device
right?
sales.
That's what I thought so too. I was like, Stryker. I want to get in. Then I had an opportunity. I got in as an ASR, associate sales rep, moved me to Washington State, Tri-Cities, Utah, and Yakima. And I did that for 2 years. And as I was a sales rep, I started looking into the industry, and a lot of executives and VPs had two different backgrounds, either marketing, R&D, sales and marketing. So I'm like, I'm gonna go get some marketing. Yeah. So then I go back to Utah, a company called Ortho Development, became the hip product manager. And that was awesome, man. It was so cool to be able to come up with so many new projects and launch projects and wear all hats and work with the engineering team, work with the CAD files, the designs, create the instruments. I was like, man, I've had a hip replacement, and now I get to be able to design this stuff.
Exactly.
This is so cool. And so then a company called United Orthopedics called me up, and I got global experience. They're based out of Taiwan. So I became the global product manager, and I did that for a couple of years. And that's when I started branching into the LinkedIn social platform, because there was nobody in the medical industry at all using LinkedIn at all. Yeah. And I live in Utah, where they call it the Silicon Slopes. Yep. And all my friends in the tech industry were blowing up LinkedIn. I was like, this is so interesting. I should be able to use LinkedIn for the medical industry. Why is nobody using it? And everybody thought United Orthopedics was United Airlines. So United Airlines is selling hips and knees. Yeah. I was like, I got to come up with a new narrative. And so I started using the social platform and be able to create a story. I'm Johnny the hip guy. Johnny, I've had a hip replaced, Johnny Motivation. And then my brother and I started a shoe company, Caffaro Shoes. And so I'm like Johnny the shoe guy, fashionable. I sell hips, knees, and shoes, right? So it's this whole background. And so then they moved me over to the director of sales, because I was actually starting to sign distributors up through LinkedIn. And it was a huge thing, because nobody ever would have heard of it if they weren't getting on the social platform. How would I have ever found anybody? Same with you and I, how we met. I would never have known you if we never had this social platform.
100%.
And I think that's the beauty of actually using LinkedIn as a huge network and be able to have that. I was the director of sales of the West for a couple of years, and then moved over to Stryker as their senior manager for the whole hip division globally, marketing. Yep. And I did that for a short time.
I still, while we're laughing, I still remember being on the bus with Elliot, my CEO at the time at Innovis, as you and I are talking about everything that was going on.
Oh man, I was there for 9 months, and it was a quick 9 months. It was a lot of fun, but it was also just a lot of red tape. And so, yeah, that's my background. I mean, I'm a single dad of 5 kids.
Yeah.
I've got 3 boys, 2 girls. And so, I mean, it keeps me busy. And then I took a little bit of a hiatus and came back, and now I'm here.
Yeah.
Started at the bottom, now I'm here.
Yeah, right? You got it going. And now he's got the purple Nikes going right kicks, now, you know?
Exactly.
And we're going to unpack a lot. The one thing I'll just say is we won't go into all the depth of when you first broke into med device sales, because I'll link our other episode that you guys can go watch after this, because there's just so much more to unpack.
Absolutely.
But the one thing I just want to just touch base is, the thing I've always respected about you the most is just seeing you're always open to growth.
Yeah.
Always open to trying new things.
For sure.
And also the thing that I've always seen in every person that I've ever met that knows who you are just talks about how amazing you are, the energy you always bring, and just how genuine you are.
I appreciate that.
And I think that's one of the things I always just want to get across to people is because you can't fake that.
Yeah.
Right? I think about our call, like think about our first podcast, and I remember you talking about, you knew the guy who used to park the cars.
Yeah.
And you knew his name.
Absolutely.
And you knew his family.
Yeah.
And you just cared about people. And it's what made you such an amazing rep that went from the associate to the full line to crush it, then to go global and to be able to be where you're at. You can't do that by just being out for yourself and 100%. Focused on yourself. And so I just wanted to touch on that because we even talked about off air. I think the more you get into business and you get into this world, you realize how transactional so many people are.
Exactly.
And they only focus about what they can gain from you.
Yep.
And like you and I were talking about, it's like one of the things I always make sure if we're ever going to do anything is how can it be a win-win-win for everybody?
100%.
Even like the people we work with.
Yeah.
If you don't win, we don't win, and the companies don't win, why are we doing what we're doing? Because otherwise someone's losing.
Yeah.
Right. So I just wanted to just touch on that because you do an amazing job of always just being so genuine.
Appreciate it.
And being who you are. But like, I just remember sitting there in my house right now on my $40 microphone, interviewing you on Zoom, doing it here.
Yeah.
But talking about you making that difference, going through your whole journey. But the one thing I also just want to bring up is, can you kind of tell me about when somebody told me or told you to come meet them, that story?
Yeah, I mean,
because you already know what it is.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad you asked that. No, so I mean, I was stressed out. So I was looking for a job for the last 6 months. I was laid off my tech company that I was at, and I just had my second hip replacement. Just bought a house, and I'm like, I want to get into the medical industry. Yep. I'm like, how do I do it? There's I don't know, like I forgot the old website.
MedReps.
MedReps.
Yeah, there's MedReps.
MedReps. Like it was like so ghetto and like it was like ancient, but that was the only way to get in. Like that, you get in your resume, find a recruiter.
Yep.
And so then I told my dad, and my dad coached a lot of college football players at BYU, and he knew a lot of them were in Stryker, and he's like, hey, I'll reach out to a few people. I finally got my foot into the door, and I was going through the interview process. I took the Gallup test, it was super stressful because if you don't match the personality, then you don't ever get a job with Stryker again.
Yep, you're out. Just so you know, Hologic does it as well. We have our students go through, and like Zimmer, there's a bunch of them.
You train, you help your students?
Yeah, we help our students go through that.
Cool. I had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
Like I had to Google stuff. I'm like, what are they going to ask me?
Yeah, and you, like we always tell people, like you can't plan for it. We help people go through it, but like I was fortunate enough when I went through the process. Yeah. I knew one of the RMs, and he let me know I scored in the top 2%. Yeah. But again, it's not like I'm some genius. It's because you can't plan for the test.
No, exactly.
But if you've never done it and you don't have any guidance, every person who calls me is about to rip their hair out because they're like, what do I do? This means everything.
So true. But like the funny thing is like I have a personality, so I'm starting to joke with the person taking the test, and like you can't joke with them. It's so dry. I was like, come on, like give me something.
They're like, I can't even answer back to it. I can just tell you the question
I'm like cracking jokes. I'm like, how'd I do? Like, sir, I can't answer that. I'm like, okay, fine. And so I took the Gallup and I passed, and I was like, cool, like I'm on my way. And then like just complete silence, like Stryker just like ghosted me almost in a sense. And I'm like, no, this is not happening. Like I need this, like bills are racking up, everything else. And so I get word that the hiring manager is going to be in California on vacation. So I'm like, I tell she's my ex-wife now, I was like, hey, we're gonna get in the car, we're gonna pack up, and we're driving to California right now. And she's like, what? What do you mean? I was just like, we're going to go stay at your house. We're going to take a huge risk, put the gas and everything on credit cards, and go meet Spencer. And she's like, okay. I mean, this is it. And I was like, so I texted him. I was like, hey, like, weird. I heard you're in California. So am I. That's coincidence. Like stalker ex-girlfriend trying to find the like.
Oh, I can't believe we're at the same restaurant in a different state.
How did we do that? Nothing. He doesn't respond. I'm like, oh crap. Like this is not good. Then another day goes by. Oh man, like nothing. Then he finally texts me back. He's like, hey, sorry, I've been busy with the family, been on vacation. That's crazier in California. He's like, why don't you come down to my hotel and we can just hang out on the beach and we can chat and talk about the job and just get to know each other a little bit more. And he said, just come down in a tank top, flip-flops and some shorts and we can just hang out. And he's like, I'll see you in an hour. And it was exactly an hour drive from there. So I run upstairs and just put on a suit and tie because my dad has always taught me you only get one chance to make a first impression.
Man. Come on.
And so I'm like, if this guy's going to meet me for the very first time, I don't care where I'm at. I'm going to look my best. Yep. I mean, and so I pull up, make it just in time to be a little early. Because my biggest thing is if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you're forgotten.
Yep. Come on.
And I just didn't want to be forgotten. And so I get there and he's just like, looks at me and he's like, what are you doing? I was like, you only get one chance. Like, what's up? Like, I'm Johnny. Nice to meet you. And he just like, dang, like you really wanted this. Like, so I'm just sweating on the beach.
Yeah.
Like just profusely, just like everywhere you could.
You had to throw the suit away afterwards.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was like, there's no dry cleaning that could save this suit. It was gone. And then he's like, wait, you just drove all the way from Utah to just come see me to get a chance to be interviewed and like move forward in the process. Like, wow, that takes a lot of grit and determination. Yep. Like, and then for you to wear a suit on the beach and not care what anybody thought about you because this is what meant to you.
Yep.
And little did I know, he had another interview right after me with someone that had 7 years of experience in the medical industry. The guy showed up in shorts, flip-flops, and tank top. And like, he knew that like I would be a harder worker, better, and all this stuff. And so the next day I got the job offer. And that's how I broke into the medical industry. It showed how bad do you want it? And are you going to be able to do that as long, like when the job gets hard, are you going to still be able to do that?
Come on, man.
Because the job gets hard. I mean, I wasn't even prepared for getting into the medical industry. It was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yep.
Like sleepless nights, restacking trays, doing all this different stuff that
knowing all the anatomy, knowing the surgeries just as well. Like, yeah.
But like, I always go back to that moment. I was 6 months out of a job. I was like, bills were paying up. I would have done anything for the job. So why not continue that like determination while having that job?
Yeah.
So that's how I got in, and it changed everything for me. And then everything just went up from there just because of like my work ethic and my determination. You know what I mean?
Man. Like honestly, it's one of my favorite stories of ever breaking into med device sales. That's why I brought it up. It's like, I think about that all the time because you and I talked about it on that last podcast. Yeah. This is like Eric Thomas, when you want to breathe as bad as you want to succeed, then you'll be 100%. Successful. Right. And like that's what always thought of me because he's like, my man showed up on the beach on a suit, right? He thought he was just going to go do an interview. He got to go out, swim, right?
Hold your head down, and just as about ready to go, you're going to breathe.
Yep. Yeah. And like, that's what I think about every time, man. Every single day I get the opportunity to work with amazing individuals just like you, who most managers, most companies won't give a shot to because they're going to take someone with more clinical or more sales experience. But we all know if you've been in this industry at any amount of time, there's people who've been in for 3, 5, 10, 15 years. They get comfortable. They get lazy, right? Yeah. Take all of that away. That is why you're here today, who you are and why you're so successful. Because I think that's what people will never understand. And I share it with our team all the time is like, I always have them play Whales, the song by Whales, Ambition. Yeah. And it's like, take all of this away. Take all the money. Take all the fame. Like, take all of it. Yeah. You'd still get up tomorrow early and do your same routine. 100%. And make sure you show up and make somebody feel seen when you show up.
Exactly.
And that's what people don't, they always wonder what the it factor is.
Yeah.
The it factor is you care.
Absolutely.
The it factor is you want to be better.
Yeah.
And you knew you wanted this. You didn't care what anyone else does. And that's why I just want to get across today, because you are so successful and you've been where you're at today because you've never cared about what other people are going to say about you.
No.
Especially like, oh, you're getting on LinkedIn. What's LinkedIn? You're a loser. Like, you're United, right? Like I always just tell people the internet's the best thing in the world is like, we'll have a video go and it's like the comment literally says, you suck, get off the internet. The next one is, you just changed my life. Thank you for that. Right?
Exactly.
I'm always like, that's the internet
100%.
summed up, right? But I just love that story about who you are, of that that's all I needed to ever hear to know the person you are and know why you're successful.
Yeah.
Is because, man, you showed up, and because of that, you came in and on those long days, right? It's one of the things we teach in our program all the time is like, everyone tells me they want it.
Oh yeah. Right.
Everyone goes off of motivation but can you follow through when all the motivation and the feelings left?
Yeah.
When it's a 12-hour day, you're working a week that you're working 60, 70, 80 hours. You just got yelled at. A doctor's trying to leave. A deal
thrown at you.
Yeah. A deal fell through, like all the stuff. Can you get up and still show that person in the next case what they need?
Absolutely.
Or are you going to just feel bad for yourself and be like, I'm having a bad day, so all of you have to suffer too, right? And it just shows why you're a good rep. But I just wanted to talk on that before we get more into who you currently are and all that stuff.
For sure.
Because I think that just says a lot about who you are and where you're at. But one thing I would love to just stay in the med device sales space where you're currently at right now is like, can you kind of just talk about how have you been able to progress your career so quickly? Because again, man, you're not like the average person who's like, you're head of growth of a company that's blowing up right now and people all know who you are, but you don't have 60 years experience. You're not like all this. You've been able to progress. So can you kind of just talk about like who you are and how you've been able to progress in medical device sales when this industry is extremely hard to progress in?
I think you nailed it. It's showing up and caring and actually knowing who you are and creating this persona where people actually know you, respect you, and always will speak your name in a good light.
Yep.
Like I said, like the janitor knew my name, the valet guy knew my name, the CEO knew my name because I would do everything in my power to know how their wife was or how their daughter was or how they're doing it. And so then when references got around and my name started getting spread around, like that Johnny guy, he's a good guy. That Johnny guy, he cares. He's going to be able to make sure and he's not doing it just to get gain. Like when somebody does something out of the kindness of their heart sometimes, and it's not just there's always a secondary gain that they're trying to get behind it. I never had a secondary gain. Like I come from like a pure heart, like just heart-centered and be able to, I want people to succeed.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I do the best is like I bring people along with me.
Come on.
And I think that's the beauty of how I've gotten so successful is because it's not just a one-man show. You can't be successful by yourself.
No.
And you see those people that are like the lonely people or that are like, they think they're at the top. Like they're so lonely, man. They just don't have anybody supporting them or around them. Cool. They have millions of dollars, but like how many people actually like you?
Yeah.
And I always put my head down on the table. Like, who did I help today? Did I open somebody's door? Did I make sure I made somebody feel good about themselves? And it just get me like a place where I could be able to tell. And then I showed up authentically.
Yeah.
Like I never came in with like different masks. I never came in with different, like I always came in with like the direct being of who I was.
Yep.
And so it's like when I posted on LinkedIn and I started growing that platform, like the cool thing is I looked at the industry and I said, why are executives and orthopedic surgeons or PAs only the people's names that they're in people's mouths? Like, why are they the only ones? Just because they're in the industry, like, why can't reps or why can't we be able to like showcase who we are? And so I'm like, I'm going to give us a platform. I'm going to give us something to speak upon. And I think that's why everybody kind of does know who I am in our medical industry. Love me or hate me. I mean, I'm always going to have some haters.
Come on, baby. They're everywhere. And the haters just keep elevating you. So it's even better, man.
So it's good. And so it's like, but you will know who I am.
Yep.
And the thing is if I can always lead and be able to have that caring side, I think that's what's helped me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have a really strong work ethic.
Yep.
I mean, I have a really strong motivation to always be better. Yep. I always love learning. My knowledge is I'm always reading. I'm always trying to seek to be the better version of myself every day. But I think it's just coming down to being authentic and being able to have that capability to relate and connect. Like there's a book, How to Make Friends in 90 Seconds or Less.
Yep.
And I've just learned, I mean, you want to be able to find that common ground right off the bat. Like find common interests and be able to understand like, but you're also not just finding common interests just because you want to strike a deal. You actually care.
Bam.
And you're giving yourself like, hey, this is a little bit about me. Let me know a little bit about you. And we come together and find common ground.
And
so,
well, just so you know, that's why like everyone loves to follow you because you are authentic and people want to watch the journey, right? Like
for sure.
my mentor taught me this when I was the 23-year-old broke kid here and all these millionaires kept trying to take me out to coffee. And I'm like, I can't even afford the coffee.
Yeah.
But then he told me, and he's like, everybody wants to be a part of a good thing.
Yep.
And they see what you're doing and they see the difference you're making. And I think the big thing I just want to touch on is you don't try to get stuff from people. You literally are just putting it out there and you're like, take it or leave it. I'm just being me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing because, you know, like I was telling you, there's a podcast I'm listening to by my pastor and he talks about transactional relationships.
Yep.
He talks about like one of the worst experiences he ever had was a member gave his former pastor a thing 3 years after that. He said, hey, I want this deal. The guy didn't give him a deal that they were working on. And he's like, but I gave you this 3 years ago. Right. And it goes back to the reason I just say that is it really out of the goodness of your heart or is it what you can get? And I think that's one thing that I always watch from you.
Yeah.
Dude, you're just giving, hey, whether you're a single parent, whether you're a sales rep, whether you're a single dad, whether you're just going through this, are you going through your own self journey? Like you just share your life and you're so authentic and so many people connect with it.
For sure.
And that's what I just truly appreciate. And also the one thing I just want to touch on is also your work ethic. It's not very often that you meet someone who has emotional intelligence, who is driven, who is wanting to get better.
For sure.
And who also just wants to be a nice, humble human being and not tell you how amazing they are every 10 seconds.
For sure. I mean, I think my suit guy, I wear custom suits.
Yeah.
And he designs stuff for me. He's like, the mantra is humble, but let them know.
Come on.
Like from a distance, you'll know that my suit looks humbling, but when they walk up close to it, they'll be like, okay, wow.
Yep.
And like, that's how I want to portray myself. Like I am humble, but my work has let them know who I am.
Yep.
Right. And I think that I have that understanding. It's like being authentic and sharing my life story. And man, if I can, like, I didn't have that much help. I didn't have a mentor in the medical industry. Like my senior rep was awesome. I would say he was a good mentor, but like, I didn't know how to get in. I didn't have anybody helping me along the way. And so it's like, if I can help a couple people with a couple of my posts being real and raw, because we're all struggling at one moment of our life or another. If I can tell my struggles and it can help somebody elevate in that moment, then I'm doing my job, man. Like I really, truly just want everybody to be happy and find that peace of joy and not keep like, woe is me, because life is beautiful, man.
Yeah, man.
Life is magical if you allow it to be. And if you allow other people to be able to help you grow and be able to accept it too, because not a lot of people want to be able to be helped. A lot of people don't feel like they deserve help.
Bam.
And I think that's the beauty of it is when we allow others to see our light shine, it gives them like the opportunity to say that, hey, I can shine too, because this person's shining, and it lets them be able to move forward.
So good because of the fact of like, I tell my team here all the time, I'm like, I probably sound like a hippie coming from Iowa. I'll be like, I'm sounding like a hippie, but I'm like, your energy matters. Who my energy's around, who I'm spending my time with, because if there's anything I've learned being with a lot of successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, all this stuff, it's they're making sure they're around others that are building them out, not just always taking them down.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of people that I honestly get on calls with people every single day, and I'm like, I've been there. I had $1,200 my name, slept on an air mattress, had a hole. But every single day I watch people who want to stay broke. They want to stay poor. They want to stay in that woe is me, like you said. But the reason I'm just saying that is, like you said, what I've really learned over the last 6 years on this whole journey is life is what you make it. And there's so many blessings. And like every single time, I'll just never forget, like one story I just want to share is like what I will never forget being humbled is making the largest deal in company's history at the previous company I was at. And like that PO came in, and as a young 20-some-year-old thinking, I'm amazing, I did it, right? And then getting on a call with one of our members who's the sweetest dude. I love him to death. And he calls, say, I need to take a break. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, my dad just called me and let me know he has stage 4 prostate cancer and he's going to be dead in 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And I'll never forget walking that trail, looking at the sunset that night. And just seeing how fast life changed up, me being egotistical because I just made a sale, thinking I'm so great of like all this in med device sales. And then just remembering his dad doesn't care about the money. Is that he just wants to be alive. And that's what I've really learned about how beautiful life is getting the relationships, just that blessing. Like I tell everybody, made the deals, got the commission checks. It's great. Nothing fills my cup and makes me happier than waking up every single morning and watching the sunrise come over those mountains.
Because you get to have a whole new day.
Bam.
You get to be able to take another breath. I mean, Jocko says, if you can say the word good, you're still alive, you're still breathing, and be able to see that sunrise and be able to hit that body and be able to know you have a whole nother day to create magic. It's powerful.
It takes it to a whole nother level. And then what also I'd love to do is I always love to reflect. And I reflect 6 years ago when I watched that same sunrise where I was at. Right. And so just being able to understand and go through that. But the reason I just want to just touch on this real quick, because everybody's watching this. They're like, what the heck does this have to do with medical device sales? But
everything.
And that's what people miss.
It's a mentality.
Though. That's it. It's people miss this is like, whether you're trying to break into medical device sales, whether you're inside medical device sales, whether you're not even in med device sales and you're just in life and trying to do stuff. What people will never understand is what we just talked about and what you're going through and you're sharing in your story is that's the success. Because you, which we're going to talk about, taking the little hiatus, is why you're coming back even bigger, better, and faster and stronger now.
Exactly.
Right. And so being able to do that. So I just wanted to put that out there because I know some people are probably listening right now and being like,
I mean, if they're listening and then they're not getting the whole concept of it, because it's a mentality, it's a mindset. Like it's a way of being, and you can't have a successful life no matter if you're in medical sales or not. It's just life in general.
Yeah.
So I would take a step back and say, where are you at? What are you doing? Are you doing these steps? Are you being your authentic self? Because being your authentic self is going to help you in medical sales. It's going to help you in sales in general. It's going to help you be able to be a better person. And are you going to lay your head down at night on a pillow and say, okay, I did a good job today. And I think that's where I think you just nailed it. That's why it's so important for medical sales.
That's it. You know this going through medical device sales. There's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of roller coasters and there's a lot of finger pointing. Like my best advice to every rep is document everything, because people will blame you, say you lost it, they make you all the stuff. But the reason I'm sitting here telling you is every decision I make in my life is always when I lay my head down on the pillow, did I do the right thing? Other people might not agree with it, but me in my heart with what I believe, did I do the right thing and handle it in the right way? And then if I didn't, make sure that I go make a difference and make it right. But that's why I just wanted to say there is because, again, you're 100% right, man. It's like you just stayed true to you and being who you are. Can you lay your head on the pillow and be like, I did a good job. I made someone else's day. I'm doing the right thing. Because that's going to just not only elevate you in your sales career, but also in your life. You're like, what I've even learned is like relationships, people you're around, business, like it all goes around to everything.
Everything is combined,
you know? And so then that leads me into more of like, I want to talk about, you went through med device sales and you grew and you went to Strikers and you were at the top and all of the stuff. One of the things I want to touch on before we go into the hiatus and all the stuff is you also did it as a dad. And you got 5 kids. And I was telling you off air, like my girlfriend's got a 4-year-old and I'm like, man, I need a nap some days, right? And I'm like, so how do you do it? Like with all this of not only being a med device sales, now being the head of growth, right? Like how do you do all this while also being a dad of 5 beautiful kids?
Man, I don't even know sometimes. Like it blows my mind that I have 5 kids. I mean, I'm very blessed beyond measure to be able to have 5 souls that I get to be able to be over and watch. But it is a blessing that my older kids help. And it's thank goodness, because my 2.5-year-old twins kill me. I mean, they're amazing kids. They're happy all the time, but just so much energy. The hard thing is, man, I just feel that it's very difficult as a single parent trying to give the same energy to each one of those kids. And I feel bad at times that someone got more and someone got less and someone felt like they got left out. And I lay my head down. I'm like, man, who did I miss? What can I do better? And it's a grind, and you just keep going. Like it's almost that adrenaline rush throughout the whole day, and you look forward to nap time because maybe you get a nap in too.
Maybe 10 minutes of just shutting your eyes,
shutting your eyes or doing something, and then having that experience of like knowing that you can do hard things. And I've done so many different hard things, but like this is probably the hardest. Like my job is easy compared to raising 5 kids.
Come on, man.
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. That's how I don't know how you do it. Cause I raise, like I help and I'm like, this is like all that. And I always tell people stood in a line for a couple hours at Disney World. And I'm like, well, now running a business with employees is pretty easy because I see the emotional, but you got 5. And this is what we said it off air, but I want to put it on air is like the thing that makes me the happiest, man, is every single day I always got told, oh, you're a young single dude or all the stuff. That's the only reason you're successful. Right. And then I always just pointed to you, man. Well, you got kids, you got 5 kids, you're going through everything and you're still kicking all those guys' butts that's saying that to me in med device sales. And so that's what I just respect about you, man. It's like, it's not even all the other stuff. Like we could just go off of one and you could do it.
We could talk
about it. But you got 5 kids that you're doing it while you're traveling the country while you're doing everything that you're doing. And I know it will connect with other people that watch that are probably like, hey, I'm a single parent, or I'm even married, I have my kids.
But it's still hard,
How am I supposed to juggle med device sales? How am I supposed to juggle a career and want to become better, but also be a great parent?
Yeah, I mean, you can do it. I mean, you can do anything that you put your mind to it. It's those self-limiting beliefs, and it's just overcoming that. And it's important to know that like hard things are going to come. And my thing, like even just last week, I was at AUKUS. It was the Hip and Knee Association in Dallas. And then my daughter calls and says, hey, where are you? And I was supposed to be at her recital, but I knew I was out of town. And she got super sad. And she's like, Dad, why are you always traveling? And then the second I get home, it's not even my weekend. So I get every other weekend off, or I would be dead. Like I need those weekends. But then my son calls me. He's like, Dad, I haven't seen you all week. Can we come to your house? Can you pick us up on Sunday? How do you say no? Like, how do you say no to your child that wants to see you?
Yeah.
And I need rest and recharge because I'm flying out here the next couple of days, right? And so it's like, but I didn't say no. I wanted to make sure that he's my priority. And if you have your priorities straight and you're balanced, I mean, God, universe, source, whoever you think, higher power is going to give you the energy and the strength to keep going because you have the right and the ability and you have these like this calling to raise these kids. And I will never be a dad that just neglects or puts my career. I mean, at some point I have done that. Don't get me wrong. Like I did put my career above my kids and I was missing recitals and I was missing all this stuff because I was trying to climb the corporate ladder. I was trying to figure out, okay, look at me. If I have this name, then I'm going to have this status. If I have this career title, then everyone's going to look at me differently. I always had a chip on my shoulder to try to prove something to somebody. And I don't have that anymore. And so it's just like, am I being present with my kids? Am I being conscious? Like, am I being aware? Am I putting my phone down to the side? Like anybody can do it. So you can't say if you're saying life is hard and you have one kid or you're a single parent, I have 5 kids and I'm doing it by myself. Like my parents don't help. My siblings don't help because all my siblings have 5 to 4 kids. Like they'll come stop by. But like when it's my weekend, it's daddy daycare time, right? It's full house and it's ready to go. But you just do it. Like, and I love that saying, just do it. I mean, Nike's crushed it on that, but like, honestly, if you just don't complain, don't whine, and you do it, you're gonna get it done.
I'll just sit here and tell you, that's how I know you're always gonna be so successful because that's what I tell so many people. Like when we were going through and building all this, right? It's like you have another 16-hour day. You're doing med device sales, and I was building this program, all this stuff, and you're doing the same thing. Like you're doing it, and everyone's like, "Isn't it tiring?" It's like, "Yep."
Yeah.
Isn't it all this? Yep.
Yeah.
But you just do it. You just 100%. Get it done. And that's one thing I just want to like mention real quick is why I respect you so much, man, is I've always seen your heart and that you are a family man.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things like, you know, even with like Omar, who's our friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
what's up, Omar?
Yeah, exactly. Like he's an amazing dad as well. And he's been a great mentor for me as well. And it's like, I only want to surround myself because that's been a big thing for me is not losing who you are. And like family to me has always been a massive part.
100%.
And I feel like that's a thing that can get lost in business.
Absolutely.
It can be like, what's about me?
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing I want to touch on because you hit it. Because I've been, and you've been there. You see the surgeons. We're all reps. We're in sales. We're all competitive. So there's that chip. But then it's like I've been able to go to a lot of these conferences. I see also when I'm going into doing some of these parties of like for med device sales, it's like, oh, I'm finally away from my kids or my families. Let me just go enjoy myself. And it was always, those are the people I didn't want to be associated with because I get it, go do your thing. But like for me, family, who you're with is always number one. And that's why I appreciate it. But what I want to talk about is you said that you had a chip on your shoulder. And I want to talk about that because I think every single person, especially young person listening to this, is going to be able to relate because that's the only reason I'm here is I had the chip on my shoulder and it was more of what people told me I could never do.
100%.
But then also I always am open on our podcast. Like I had to go to therapy because I'm like, what happens when you make the money that you never thought you'd make and you're still miserable? And then I had multiple people be like, who are you trying to prove it to? You've done this, you've succeeded here. And it was like, you know, I always wanted to just do more. And then like you start doing it. So I want to just take time because you've been at way bigger platforms than I have.
Oh, man.
And can we kind of talk about like, what about that chip that just drove you to just work the 16-hour days to do all the all-nighters? Like, can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to be so successful that anytime somebody said my name that I was associated with success. And then, like I said, at a young age, I was bullied and I had the braces on my legs. But the funny thing is you're the only one that kind of remembers having the braces. You're the only one that remembers people that made fun of you. You're the only one that remembers that you had the hip disease, because 5 years down the road, no one remembers.
Yeah.
But you still have that. Like,
come on.
What you did to me, I remember I took receipts, like Deion Sanders talks about. I'm taking receipts. But it just drove me to be able to prove to anybody that said I couldn't do it. Like my doctors told me at a young age that I shouldn't be able to play sports. I shouldn't play anything. I'm like, I'm going to show you. Like, I will play sports. I will do everything. I don't appreciate anybody telling me what I can and cannot do.
Yeah.
I will write my own history. I will tell my own story. And for a long time, I would believe it at times what other people would say, right? Like, when I was at Stryker, they would say, we don't do that here. We don't do that here. Like, this is not the way we do it. And I'm like, but what do we do? Like, I want to be able to do something better. And my thing is the chip just kept growing as I kept getting more successful, though. It was astonishing. I didn't understand it. I'm like, why do I still have this chip when I'm actually really high up and I've hit every milestone that I've ever wanted? And I just had to go back in. I'm like, who am I trying to prove that to? Like, my kids at the end of the day think I'm a superhero. They don't need any of the accolades. My friends, my family think I'm a great person. So it was always looking at the mirror as me. I was chasing myself. And so I finally put the dragon down and stopped chasing the dragon. And I started enjoying the journey. There was no end destination. I like this most cliche saying, I get it, stop and smell the roses. But I finally stopped and started smelling the roses and saying, okay, I need to go within. I need to figure out why I'm doing this, why I'm programmed this way, the way I tick, and put myself in a different thing. And the chip just kind of dissolved as we'll talk about the hiatus. I just disappeared. And I put myself first, my kids first. But it was very interesting to say is when I got, the more successful I had, the bigger chip and the ego started playing at each other. Yeah.
And I think it really comes because when I started having that for you, I think it's because you prove to yourself you can do it. So then you get to, well, I've proved everything to myself so far. So everything that I want to go, I'm going to go get that as well.
100%.
But then you never stop to ask, what's the real reason of why I'm doing this?
I never did. Did you?
No, man.
Right?
Oh, no.
We just kept going.
I just kept going. I'll be honest, man. The moment it all hit me, I still always think about it. It's like, I can't not get emotional about it. It's like, I had my therapist sit there and he said, when was the last time you heard the birds?
Right.
And it had been over 2 years. And here I am in med device sales, young dude, growing a business, doing all this stuff, having all the success. And I couldn't remember the last time I heard a bird tweet. Because I was always thinking about the next business, the next thing, the next stuff. And the reason I put this out there is I know, because after doing this, I've done multiple podcasts doing it. The one thing I'll just sit here and tell you, everyone's on their own journey. You guys do your own thing.
Absolutely.
I'll sit here and tell you, especially in med device sales, this is a very egotistical world where people will be like, oh, you go to therapy. Oh, you do that. You're weak. You're that.
Exactly.
But what I've learned is those people are usually the most broken and with the most insecurities, because the people that are actually okay with themselves, you can like it, you can not like it, you can make fun of us, you not 100%. Make fun of us, who cares? But then, like, what I'll just say is when I go out and like I made a post of me out in the woods journaling, and I'll never forget the peace I had there. And I was like, that was what I've been chasing. And I already I could have had it all along, but I was always chasing the next thing for somebody to tell me, hey, good job.
100%.
And then when I got it, I'm like, yeah. And so I think that's the crazy thing that you're saying is the more you accomplish, what I learned for myself was I proved to myself that everything I ever wanted to up to this part in my life, I've accomplished. That I never thought I could accomplish.
Exactly.
So it might as well keep going and going. But then welcome to where you get people that are decamillionaires and billionaires and all the people, and they're still never happy.
Exactly.
And people don't want to spend time with them unless they can get stuff from them.
Exactly. I think I love what you just said is when you said you found peace. And once you found the peace, you'll do whatever it takes to protect that peace.
Come on.
And that's where I'm at right now, man. I'm so peaceful in my life, and I will protect my peace as long as I can. No one's going to be able to come in, and like I want to be around the people. I'm not going to be around anyone that's negative, because once I found the peace and heard the birds singing again, I'm like, oh, okay, I know what I'm doing in life for now. And you want to know what the best part is? It only makes you that much more successful. Exactly. And you make that much more money, and you have that much, like, and you help, and let me take that, like take the money and all the stuff. It's because you help way more people because your cup is filled. You're not trying to drain from anybody else anymore, right?
And so, yeah, like I absolutely love that because I have this talk with our program because I take a lot of people who are making, $50,000, $100,000.
Yeah.
But how do you make 200, 300,000?
Yeah.
Like, how do you actually do that? And what people miss is you have to like start taking away the negative energy. You have to take away the people that draw you down.
Yeah.
Like I just always sit here and tell you, because you had this when you did all the other stuff, is I would tell people my idea and they're telling me I'm crazy, I'm an idiot, what's wrong with you? Oh, like I just had a guy a couple of weeks ago, he's like, oh, how's your little podcast doing? I'm like, well, it's doing great, man. He's like, oh, you still doing it? And I'm like, no, I'm actually full-time in my own business. He's like, wait, what? As he's making $50K, hating his life, complaining about his family.
Exactly right.
And so the reason I'm just saying that is like, I always think about that as you go through this journey and you go through this process of just like really just finding your peace. And like you said, protect it at all costs. But what most people don't understand is a lot of times that comes with a lot of loss that can hurt.
Yeah.
But that's actually giving you what's going to give you the most peace.
Yeah.
Because unless it's helping you and filling your cup, this isn't, again, just from a take standpoint.
No.
But if you have somebody who's just being transactional and then you feel dirty and you feel taken advantage of when you were just trying to help someone else.
Exactly.
That doesn't help your mental health because you're going to spend, and what I've learned in business and life, it's better just to give them the money than spend the next 6 hours thinking about it, being mad about what just happened.
100%.
And
I agree.
I think about that all the time. And now that kind of leads me into the next step of you accomplished so much, man. I said, I remember being on that call. You're at Stryker, you're at the top, and then you're done with Stryker.
Yeah.
And then you put out your own consulting firm.
Yep.
And that blows up because then I'm seeing 3, 5, 10 posts a day.
Yeah, from surgeons,
the biggest companies, like all these people who wanting to work with you.
Yeah.
You and I get on calls. Other companies are reaching out to you, partnerships. What can we hire you?
Yeah.
And you're like, have all this going, and then gone. Don't even post on LinkedIn for a year. And you have 30,000 followers plus. You're getting all these people to watch you, and you disappear.
Dude, I just vanished.
And so can you kind of talk about that? Because I think that's really interesting.
I pulled a Houdini. Like it was so cool to be able to have that experience. I mean, but the crazy thing is I wasn't really planning it. Like it just happened. I knew I needed to go with it. And I mean, I went and did, I don't know if you guys follow Aaron Rodgers at all. He's a quarterback for Green Bay. And
he's the only reason I was watching Jets. The Packers. Now I don't even watch the Packers. Exactly. So I'm from Iowa. So
So I went down to Costa Rica and I went and did ayahuasca. And I think I was searching for some because I was going in for a 4th hip replacement. And I said, this can't be it. So I go down to Costa Rica and did ayahuasca and it helped heal my hip replacements. All the pain went away and it was just super magical experience. And then I started like doing the work. I started doing hot yoga every day, started hiking, started journaling, started meditating, breath work, sound frequencies. And then on my birthday, I just had this weird feeling to like completely shut down, change my number, get off LinkedIn, and just blame everything that has happened in my life on me. Like I took extreme ownership, like Jocko talks about.
I love that, man.
And I just said, I want to be the best version I can be and for my kids. So I completely disappeared. No more transactions, stopped all contracts and stopped posting. I mean, I can't even imagine. I got so many messages in my inbox like, hey, are you alive? Are you dead? Like, what happened to you? And it was the most peaceful feeling is to be able to, like I pulled a Michael Jordan too. Like he won 3 championships and he was at his peak of his career and he just retires and goes and plays baseball. I just retire and I go and do yoga, right? It's kind of a little bit opposite. It was very freeing. And I did a lot of different things, plant medicines, plant therapies, to be able to rewire the brain so I could be able to be stronger, be better, be faster, and not come from a place of ego. Because as I was growing the Caffaro consulting and Caffaro shoes, that chip was tenfold. It was.
Well, now you had something to prove because now you're leaving the industry. Now you're like, I'm on my own.
I'm on my own. Look at me. I still had a good heart, but I was also leading from a different point of view from my ego. And so, I didn't appreciate how I left the industry. So I wanted to be able to prove what they lost. And, it was powerful. And I didn't know if I was going to come back to the medical industry. I didn't know what the plan was, but for a year straight, I just dove into so much healing. And I just want to tell people it is so important to find that balance and to take a break. And if you truly need it, it is okay to step away. And I've had people reach out to me and say they're going through the same thing and they know that they need to take a break. But if you have that opportunity and you have something to do, like, I encourage you to take a break. I encourage you to make sure that your mental health is good, because my mental health wasn't the greatest. Like, I never had any like deep, dark thoughts, but like I was just burnt out and I was tired and I wasn't being able to show up for my kids because I wasn't present. I was just like, I thought I was getting freedom by starting my own thing, but I was 10 times busier.
Yeah. Creating your own trap.
Creating my own trap and just for a different trap and using my time and energy. Like, it was beautiful. Like 2 weeks at a time, I wouldn't have my phone with me because no one had to get a hold of me. And it was like, I didn't have a cell phone. I felt like I was a monk. Like, I pulled a Jay Shetty and went and lived with the monks, and like, but I became my own monk. And it was so powerful to be able to have that experience, and then to be able to know I could come back and be a better person, and not just a better salesperson, not just better marketing person, but like truly just a better person because I'm better. I took the time to heal. I took the time to be able to find faults within myself and be able to repair those things. And because the cool thing is what plant medicine does, it creates new neural pathways in the brain. And so what we're programmed to do is like, you're doing the right thing, go right, go right, go right. The medicine's gonna like, why don't you go left? See what happens this way. Break that old program, that old habit that's kind of hurting you along the years.
And you can't even see it because you've had the hits.
You got the horse blinders
like,
on. Yeah, you got those hits on so many times, so you're always going to go right. And so then when you finally go left, you create this whole new pattern. You're like, well, that was easy. That was just like 10 years of therapy in one little mushroom setting. I was like, this is amazing. Like, everybody should be doing mushrooms.
You know what's hilarious? When you say that, I told my buddy that I was going to therapy. He's like, why are you wasting your money just doing a session of therapy?
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
And I was like, and then Joe Rogan put some stuff about therapy where actually therapy can hurt you because you're only focused on your problems.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, like, it's interesting when you talk about it like that.
Like, he talks about stop focusing on the snake bit you. Why did he bite you?
No, exactly. And actually, I just watch a lot of Alex Hormozy stuff.
Yeah.
And he's not therapist pro because he's like, I pay hourly all the stuff. But what he said is the amount of time it takes to give the context.
Yes.
I could just actually go fix the problem. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So I've learned a lot on this journey as well doing that. But you're 100% right of like, you know, like, I've heard so many people who've done this and they're like literally a new human being.
Yeah.
But they see it so differently. Like you're saying is like, they were stuck in a way that it wasn't wrong.
No.
Like, they were having success, they were doing it. But I think that's what people don't understand, that they don't get it, they can't see it, is when you're a high performer and you're trying to be the best at everything you always do. There's a pressure that comes to it. And even now, like, us going to like CEO company or conferences and like working with stuff, it's like, they literally talk about, you're just like a professional athlete. You need to treat your body because the stress you go under. It's been interesting to see that, but like, you going through your own journey of like, man, it's been fun to watch because I can even just tell like from when I first met you to where you're at now, but like when I would see your post, you just seemed lighter.
Yeah.
Like, you just like, I don't know. I think that's the best way I can explain it. Was like, I'd see your post and I was like, he just seems light.
Yeah. No, when you would say those comments, it would mean a lot because I'm like, wow, people can see it.
Yeah.
Because I knew I could feel it, but I just didn't know if when you do the work, you're going to shine differently. And I was just like, okay, like, and it was scary to come back on LinkedIn again. Not scary, but like, am I going to be relevant again? Are people going to want to hear what I have to say? Because I know that my messages are going to come a lot differently than in the past.
Yep.
People do want to hear what I have to say because it's even more authentic and it's even more real. And I'm talking about struggles. I'm talking about like the things that I've gone through, where social media is like, look at me.
Look at my highlight reel.
I want to show you the real.
Yeah.
I want to show you like, hey, it's not easy being a single dad of 5. It's not easy traveling and then getting the kids right away. It's not easy like having these hip disease and the hip problems and like still trying to make it work. Like, dude, I worked at Stryker with a broken hip covering hip replacements. You know how hard that was? But then I also had to show up with a smile on my face and like, people to understand, like, when you're going home, like, you're exhausted and you're done putting on your A game. And so like your spouse or your partner or your kids don't get your best self because you just need a time to like do nothing.
Yep.
There's this whole balancing around. So when I came back, like, I wanted to make sure that I was very balanced in all that I did.
I love that. And the one thing I just wanted to just touch on, because I think it's huge for med device sales, other high performers and stuff, is when you talk about the hiatus and where you're just encouraging these people, and like that's one thing that I've really learned on is like, you know, it doesn't always have to be a year long. It can be like, sometimes it's like this week is going rough and it's Thursday. And I'm like, Friday, I'm going to the woods. Like we're taking a long weekend, right? But like, even I was telling you off air is like, one of the things I do now is I've just learned after being with Innovis and traveling in the UK and being able to get that. I love Europe. I love going it. And the best part is, unless I'm paying for Wi-Fi or paying for all the data, I put it on airplane mode. I don't get anything. And so what I do is I like every year, multiple times a year, I'll go to Switzerland or I'll go to Italy or I'll go somewhere in Europe for several weeks and just not have my phone, not do stuff. And I'll check every once in a while, but it's only when I decide I want it.
Exactly. No one's calling on you.
No one's calling on you. And then what it actually does for me is it changes my whole perspective. Because I always tell people in America, we live to work. But in Europe, they work to live. They're chilling, they're having happy hour, they're taking siesta, like all this stuff. And so what it just helps you do is like, oh wow, relationships really matter. Like it's why the pub's so popular in the UK. It's like they're hanging out with their buddies, cheers and having fun. And that was like the biggest change. And then what I really realized is, I can come back to America and I can come and still crush it and be a high performer and do all this stuff. But I also don't have to work 7 days a week anymore. Like
that's the beauty of,
I could actually go, because I was with companies that were, hey, I'm watching these guys not have to work every day and they're still crushing it.
100%.
And it gives you that balance. And so that, like, just want to put that out there is like, if you have the opportunity to take a hiatus, do it. But like one of the things I always see with reps and all this stuff is like, the saddest thing for me is watching someone who might be in ortho or trauma or wherever they're at. And then they've been in for 4, 5, 6 years and they just quit altogether. And they have all this industry knowledge. They have all the experiences and they have all the connections. They quit and they go, like one of the guys I knew went to go do real estate. And it's like, he's starting brand new. He's at this, like this, compared to, he could go to another division, work under 40 hours. And just so you know, anyone out there that's like, you can't work under 40 hours in med device sales, you just probably aren't in the right division or having the right conversations or need better skills.
100%.
But like, you could come in and still make good money and do that. And so that's the reason I just say that, is because I watch these people just get burnt out and then like, I just have to quit altogether. I have to stop the industry altogether. I can't do it. Instead of maybe take the 14 days of PTO. Because
actually use the time.
And that's what it is. And
then come back and show up differently. If you hate what you're doing or your industry that you're in, how about you change yourself so then you change that whole perspective?
That's it, man. Because I'll just tell you, I was never, like for me, when I got hired, I'm like, I'm a return on investment. I have to return myself. And then once I made the deal, I was like, I can go and take a vacation during Christmas, all the stuff. But then when I left to go here full time, it's like, I had 18 plus days of PTO. Well, guess what didn't get paid out? The PTO.
Nothing.
And then I realized, I'm like, and again, this is never a thing. Like we just do life, but it's like, I could have done that and just taken that PTO, or I could have enjoyed life and still just and done it. But what I also learned in med device sales is you think if you leave for 4 days, your surgeon's never going to use you again. And guess what? They will threaten that. But if you're a good enough rep and you've created a good relationship, you're like, all right, please go use them.
100%.
And then they're like, well, I don't want to. And it's like, okay, well, don't threaten me. You're a human being too, because now you can never take vacation.
100%.
And so just being able to take a little break to get yourself fresh, because that's what's cool to see you now coming back and now taking the world by storm. Like I said, everyone's seeing you. Everyone's being like, hey, Johnny. And then like for you to tell me that you guys just went to the conference. What conference was that again?
AUKUS.
So you just went to the AUKUS conference. You guys don't even have to get an actual booth. And you have people just be like, hey man, what's going on? Tell me more about it. And I think it's just awesome to see. And again, I always will just state here is I love watching in medical device sales, in the corporate world, and everything we do, it's you're in a box and you have to do the box. And if you don't do the box, you're a weirdo, you suck, and you're the worst. But then everybody I know that's deciding not to do the box, it's having the most fun, the most free, making the most money, and doing everything that they want to. And so that's why I love how you carry yourself, man, and how you've been able to take that hiatus. But now you're coming in and you're crushing it again.
I mean, I've never lived in a box, man. I mean, it's gotten me in a lot of trouble, but it's also made me a lot of success.
That's why you're so free.
Exactly. It was going to take me a lot to come out of the hiatus. But then Peter Verillo, our CEO of Redefine Surgery, called me up and he's like, we have something incredible and we want you to be a part of it. We know what you can do. We know what you can bring. I'm like, I don't know if I want to. He's like, you'll have no handcuffs. I'm like, wait, what? Like,
let's talk.
I was like, no handcuffs. Like I can do whatever I want to make this company grow. He's like, yeah. he's like, the head of growth usually creates this FOMO, this cult-like following, this build a brand. Everybody knows the name. And I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, just be you, be your authentic self, but also help us grow. And he's like, let's get all your connections back. And so I posted that I was starting off with Redefined Surgery, and that went viral. Like everyone's like, oh no, Johnny's back.
Yeah.
He's back.
Yeah.
He's like, wow. And he came back to this company, and Redefined Surgery, it was just blew me away, and it's going to blow a lot of people away. We are creating an AI platform for surgery, for surgeons, scrub techs, nurses, hospitals, but we're going to start off with the surgeons. It's basically Iron Man's Jarvis. Well, sir, man, look out. There's missiles right behind you. Look out to the left. But if we're doing that for surgery, we're truly redefining what surgery does look like. And we're going in, we're collecting so many data set points right now in surgeons' ORs and capturing so many different surgeries, be able to hand motions, the hand movements, the instrument placements, the implant placements. And our AI is downloading all this and using this algorithm to learn the surgery and to learn. So then in about a year or two, when we get to the final product of once we have plenty of surgeries, you're going to put on our glasses and it'll be like, good morning, sir or ma'am. Like, we got a great hip today. We're going to go in, and as the surgeon's cutting, it'll be like, are you sure you want to cut? You need to cut a little bit further, or you're too tight in flexion or extension. We need to be able to cut 2 more millimeters off the tibia. And it's real-time data right now going to be in their ears to talk to them. But in the meantime, we have our vision system where it's capturing it's 6 cameras in the OR.
Yeah.
And we're using off-the-shelf technology with the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, where it's almost, you've seen Monday Night Football, right? So, you know, when he like catches the ball, and if he's almost out of bounds, they do this like reverse 360 to see if he's in bounds and catch it. That's what we're doing too. We're creating 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional splats. So you can't be able to see the knee. We can be able to fly by view to go through and be able to see the knee in a different angle or see something that they've never done before. Not just that, it's for medical education. It's going to be able to change the game for medical education.
Come on.
It's going to change the game for surgical education.
Yep.
So we're talking to the surgeons, we're talking to the medical device companies, we're talking to the hospitals, we're talking to the scrub techs. We can even go into the SPD and be able to create this kind of training. And so when he was telling me all this, I was just like, wow, like no way. So then we grew from like, I think he started having like 200 followers on LinkedIn to now we're almost at 2,000.
That's amazing.
In 3-4 weeks since I started.
I would say the head of growth is doing a pretty good job.
I mean, we're doing our job. And we're thinking about getting a booth at AUKUS. AUKUS and AAOS are the 2 biggest orthopedic conferences. And so I'm like, Peter, we don't need a booth. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, we will have so much buzz and so much traction before we even get there that everybody's going to stop us or want. And so that's why the whole month leading up to November 7th, we went on the Redefined Surgery Tour. And I was all around the country. Like every week. You
were putting the hours in, man.
I was putting in the hours, and I was showcasing that we were with this surgeon and then this surgeon and then this surgeon and then this company. And like, everyone's like, what is going on? Like, I created this like golden ticket, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka, like FOMO effect. Like I want to be, what are they doing?
Yeah, exactly.
And then our company's purple. So my brother and we decided to get the team Caffaro shoes that are purple. So we matched one day, and then we dropped purple Jordans one day that I'm wearing now. And like we stood out. And like the cool thing is everybody, and I once I started coming back online, I posted every single day coming back. And like everybody is super interested in what I have to say. And I'm not just talking about business. I'm talking about struggles. I'm talking about my spiritual journey. I'm talking about being a father of 5, talking about Redefined Surgery.
You're doing it all.
Yeah. Like, and it's all helping the company grow no matter what, because it's free marketing. It's guerrilla marketing. Like Redefined Surgery is in my title. Like people are going to see my title and they're going to be like, what's Redefined Surgery? Even though I'm talking about being a single parent. And that's what I don't get, why these bigger companies don't understand it yet. Like having a personal brand is only going to help the company. Everything. And like, yes, I get there's guidelines and there's standards and stipulations if you're going to talk about a product post or like that, but why would you want to control somebody talking about a personal post or, hey, I had a great time at this work event? And That's why I will not be in a box ever again in my whole life. I will always be like thinking outside the box. I mean, I'm a round peg in a square hole, right? I'm just so different. I think differently. And I think that's why Peter has allowed me to be so successful, because he knows my skill set, and he allows me to be me. And this company, it's going to be amazing. Like,
There's so many things coming
So
up.
many things.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I just want to just touch on a couple of things is to have Redefined Surgery, bring Johnny out of retirement. Like, it had to be a pretty big thing.
Yeah.
But one thing I just love is like why it's going so well for you guys right now is he just trusts you.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I trust you.
Yep.
Go do your thing.
Yeah.
That's why I hired you. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big thing is like when you're talking about personal brand, like that's something I've known for 5+ years, like, cause you've done it for way more than that.
Yeah.
And it's like personal brand is literally everything. And again, don't have a big following, but you don't need a huge following. You just need to be, hey, who are you?
Yep.
Because that was one of the reasons when I went to Innovest, like they knew we had this podcast. We know this stuff. Like we did post on LinkedIn, right? That was one of the reasons why I left one of the bigger companies is because the moment they start saying, you can't do this, I'm like, no, you can't do this. I can do whatever 100%. I want. Because the thing I always remembered, and I said this in my interview when I was interviewing with Innovest was, hey, if me having my podcast, me doing what we do in our program is a problem for you, please don't hire me.
Yeah.
Because this is who I am.
Yep.
And even if I'm here for 20 years, this is short term.
Yeah.
Because we're on the internet now.
Yeah.
This stuff will live forever.
Oh,
it'll outlive me.
Yeah.
And so like, that's how I always looked at it and just going with it. And I think that's the thing that you keep doing is like, what people miss is like, there's so much more than just Johnny as Redefined Surgery. There's so much more Johnny as Single Dad. Like it encompasses all of it. And that's what people miss is the brand of who you hire in your company actually does truly matter.
Yeah.
Instead of how these big companies work is just like, can you do ABC? That's why like I always laugh.
Yeah.
Hey, we're looking for this candidate of bam, bam, bam. I'm like, that candidate doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Right. And it's like, it sounds great all in that way. But like, what about somebody who has great values, who's a hard worker, and who's a good person, who actually like one of the people we're hiring right now, he just cares.
Yeah.
Like you'll just send a message, just say how much you mean to him, like all the stuff. It's like, you can't teach that.
No.
And it's things like that. And that's one thing that I love watching you do. And you keep doing it. And like, again, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. Johnny, you're doing it.
I'm
right?
doing it. Yeah.
So like, that's what I love doing it. But also when we're talking about Redefined Surgery and everything you guys are doing is like the couple things that I want to touch on is I don't think people really understand what you just said of when you can take all the data points and you can have all this come in, like the amount of value that's there is, it can't even be like to people listening, most of them it's not going to make sense.
No.
But like even the bigger thing is when I was asking you, who's this for?
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm like, is it for the surgeons? Is it for the hospitals? Is it for, the techs? Is it for, and then it goes into, you guys can have it go to the actual consumer and the individual.
Exactly.
And like, that's what I think is so interesting about what you guys are doing here is like, it's not just like, hey, this one size, let's just do this. You're able to go work with all these different mediums when you're talking about like markets.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we're not even talking about surgery. We started in surgery because that's our background. Think about it with physical therapy. Think about weight training. Think about sales training. Think about all these different things that need AI to be able to, hey, you give a sales presentation and your AI gives you feedback right away, how it goes and whatnot. Like the possibilities are endless, but we're just starting our AI algorithm and our data set points within surgery because that's all our network. But then we're talking to all these surgeons and then they're giving us ideas like, hey, you need to go talk into this space. You need to do this. Like my brother works here. Like this is a great thing. Like imagine having AI helping you park your car instead of just doing like all this aspects. And it's like, it's in everything. Like it's the future. And if you're not going to get on board with AI, then you're going to be left behind.
Well, dude, that's what I just absolutely love is like everybody, when I remember having to talk with one of my close friends when we were talking about like TikTok, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not doing TikTok because of China. I'm like, first off, TikTok don't care if you're on it or not.
Yeah.
Second off, all right, you're just missing a whole medium that you're not going to be on it. So it's your control. Like if it's a moral thing, fine, whatever, do your thing. But the thing that you're saying is like, that's what I love is like, what I've learned working with so many med tech companies and talking with CEOs and all this stuff is like, you see the visionaries, right? You see the big corporates and you're like, oh, here's this. But then you see the visionaries that all these big corporates end up buying anyway because they're like, well, we didn't think of that.
Exactly.
And we're like, that's genius. And it's like, oh, but then they're talking bad about them a year ago. And then now they're trying to purchase them. Right?
Exactly.
And that's what I think super interesting with it. But also what you're saying is like, I love when we bring in like new things like AI, right? Because for me, I used to sell to surgeons who are now doing medical education and they're like, well, I've done this for 20 years. And I'm like, and you still have a spoon on your back table.
Right.
Like, we're in 2024. There's other
Exactly.
things we can use, right? And so I think that's really fun for you guys because being on the other side of it, like knowing that you're going to go up and there's going to be all these people who are like, you can't do AI. That's not the future, all this stuff. And it's like, just sit and watch for the next several years of what happens and what you guys are able to accomplish.
Exactly. I mean, we got people just so excited that like knocking on our door, but could you imagine like our AI learning surgery and having the aspect of it, this so dialed down from these world-renowned surgeons, and then a community surgeon that needs a little bit more help or doesn't get the training that they've never had or need, but the better patient outcome, if we can be able to have this AI, like that's our main goal at our company is to have better patient outcome. Because man, I've been a patient. I know how important it is to have good at patient outcome. I mean, for hell's sake, I had my femur cracked. Like I walked on a broken hip. Like, don't you think I wanted better patient outcome on that? And so if we could be able to have these community surgeons that need a little bit more training or education and be able to put on these glasses and be able to be that much better for patient outcome, then we're doing our job.
Exactly.
And that's where it all stems back to being a good person. And what's your main goal? Is your goal to make a lot of money, or is it actually to help people or patient outcome? And Peter has that great vision for us. And like, I'm stoked to be by his side. I'm glad he pulled me out of retirement to be able to like, hey, we got something big and I want you to do your thing. And because the thing is like, I always wanted to do my thing without any because you've always read all my posts. I have never said anything controversy. I've never said anything that's not compliant. I've never done anything. Maybe I've like said a few things of motivation or workout or talked about my shoes or stuff like that, but like nothing to ever like put anybody in jeopardy. And so it's just like, he trusts me just as much as that aspect. But these other companies, I was ahead of my time.
Yeah, no, you're 100%. And like, this is the thing I've learned being with the big companies and talking to a lot of people at the big companies is like what I had to learn when they started saying, hey, your podcast and all this stuff. I'm like, I'm not even, this had nothing to do with you guys. Because I'll just sit here and tell you, when somebody started telling me I couldn't do a podcast, I was like, but Rick can go be in 3 beer leagues, get drunk every single week. And that's fine. But the fact that I love doing a podcast like or love helping people, that's a problem. And it doesn't even have anything to do with the business that I'm a part of right now in this, and doesn't hurt. It actually just helps. But what I learned was these big companies are just on defense all the time. And it's why they usually start losing market share once they get too big, because they're always on defense and not thinking about offense. But it's always like, all they're thinking about is, well, what if he says this, that we get sued and they say it's this company, instead of being like that, like actually me being an actual human being is only going to help the company. And like, there's so much that has to go into it to actually have like lawsuits, because the thing the thing that I laugh about the most is all these companies that worry about lawsuits have lawyers full time on their company. They have them on retainer and they work for the companies, right? You know, so but like you said, you were ahead of your time because we still see it. Like I will say now it's been interesting to watch, especially the last 3 to 5 years on LinkedIn. Cause like when I first entered the space, like I'd come in and people were like, shut your mouth, right? Like anything I say. And there's not much, but now like, again, we have helped thousands of people. We're over 2,000 people bringing in med device sales. We're doing it. And now it's like, I laugh because like just saw a kid who literally has been in for 3 months and now they're helping people break into med device sales, right? Like now that everyone's getting really comfortable of like, well, now we can all help.
Everybody,
but now they're
come on, I know,
shooting from the hips. But the reason I just say that is like, you were ahead of your times because you were doing all this and just trying to help people do all this stuff. Now it's like even just last week, like it was my birthday. I always post for the last 3 years, hey, 29 life lessons, 30 life lessons. Like I've had multiple people literally steal that exact post off me and they're like, I made this up. And I'm like, all right, go rock and roll. Right.
Exactly,
like the hilarious one was the girl who did it prior, literally just went on to grab it again. And she commented on it a year ago and now she used it this year for it.
Wow.
But the reason I'm just saying that is like going on the head of your times is like, when you're doing stuff, people aren't going to understand it at the time. But this is what I love is like for you guys at Redefine Surgery is like, your mission with you and the company aligns, and then what you guys are chasing is where it's going. And that's why it doesn't matter what anyone else is going to say, because this is going back to, hey, like me, hate me, whatever it is.
100%.
All I've learned is even if they hate you, they're pushing you. When they comment hate on you, it just pushes the algorithm.
100%.
And now I just say thanks to everybody. But like, that's the thing I think about what you guys are about to do, because I can already see it. I can hear the people that have been in the medical world for 20 years being like, that's impossible. You can't do that.
100%.
And what you guys are about to accomplish, it's just so exciting for what you have.
I'm excited. There's a lot going on. And I mean, dude, we're just getting started. I mean, that's the cool thing is And we have so much more to do and so much more to go. But like the trajectory is just, we're on a rocket ship right now, ready to go up.
I absolutely love it.
Excited.
And like one thing that I always like to ask guests, but like, what are you the most excited? Because I've been watching you go everywhere. You're driving, you're flying everywhere you're going. What are you the most excited for like the next 6 months and with Redefine? And then I'm going to switch it to not Redefine.
No, I mean, I'm excited to see who gets involved and what gets involved and how we can be able to push our data set faster and what we can do to accomplish with this AI. I mean, we've got the smartest minds, engineers working on this, and we've already gotten the publicity. We've already gotten the people wanting to do it. So it's just time for us to be able to show what we can do with it.
Yep.
It's going to take a little bit of time, but I'm just excited to be able to see that people are very, very interested in what we're doing. And I mean, we were the hottest medical company at the conference. Like we have been the hottest one because I mean, that's the power of social media. Like we've created this buzz, and I think that's where I want to keep continuing, is being able to show that aspect in the next 6 months. We have nothing but just clear skies in front of us. You know what I mean?
The one thing I just want to touch on that with the social media, because you're doing it, it's like, because you and I get it. We've talked with Omar. It's the 100%. Fun conversations, but it's like, it's always so much people like hating on it. Oh, your little TikToks or all your little posts or all this stuff. But people don't understand. They don't know the DMs you have in your inbox right now.
No.
They don't understand the people that have, like, when you're talking about being a single dad, the amount of DMs that you have in your inbox saying, hey, because of you, I made it through another day, or hey, because of you, I was able to just muster up the strength to be able to show up for my family. And I think that's the most beautiful part. And like, I remember getting those messages. I had somebody, the number one reason when I had this podcast, knew I was never going to give it off, is when somebody said, hey, every time I listen to you, just so you know, you're the reason I haven't committed suicide yet.
Wow.
And I was like,
damn,
man, like, take all the money away, take all the stuff. If that's what this is doing, just to help somebody,
100%.
That's all it is. So that's why I just always want to put out there, because like I always see the clowns, I always see the people. We're always going to get them, right?
Absolutely.
And we love them. But like the reason I just say that is like people just don't understand truly what you can do with social media.
Absolutely.
And the impact that you can have without ever meeting. Because like I feel like I already know you so well. And we've talked on phone calls. We've had other podcasts. But this is the first time we've actually met in person.
Exactly.
And it's absolutely incredible, and it's amazing. That's what's so cool about social media.
Absolutely, man. No, I love it. So I'm super happy to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you. Now, let's do this one. What are you the most excited about over the next 3 months for you as Johnny?
Yeah, my book. Yeah, my book's almost done.
Tell me more.
I wrote my whole life story over the last 35 years. All the heartaches, all the pains, all the sorrows, all the joys, all the things that I've overcome, all the things that it's never give up. Like I had to go through so many trials, and people think that you look at me now, and people that don't know my story, like this guy's just had the perfect life. He's tall. He's got all that he's never needed. Nothing's ever come hard or easy. And I mean, it's complete opposite. Everything that I've done was so hard. And I believe that diamonds are made through pressure and hardship. And I'm so excited to get this book out. And if no one reads it, that's great if one person does. But like, it's been so therapeutic for me to write this thing and go through my whole life story and be able to get this thing out and be able to have this accomplishment where I just wrote 35 years worth. I'm at 50,000 words right now. I'll be done probably by this week. And then get a publisher, working with a publisher. And the cool thing is I was talking to a couple publishers, and everyone's like, everyone has an idea for a book, and everyone has a book, or they've written a book, but they don't have a marketing or a platform. I have the platform. I have the network. I know how to market. So I just need to get this book done. I think for sure by January 1, I think I'll have my book out.
Dude, that's absolutely amazing.
That's what I'm definitely looking forward to.
Well, first off, I can't wait to get it. Like, it's going to be absolutely awesome. And then so many people are going to like be able to, again, like you said, most people judge a book by its cover, going off a book.
100%.
And not know the actual true Johnny and what it's taken you to get here. So
absolutely, I
think that's going to be amazing. Now, the last thing I have to say is, where can people learn more about Redefine Surgery? Yeah,
I mean, www.redefinesurgery.com, LinkedIn page, message me as well. Peter Varillo, Rob Dobelin, Brittany Martin. I mean, those are top people that we on the commercial team. I mean, the interweb is huge. So you can find us.
It's awesome. So, well, I just want to always give you guys the platform because you guys are doing some big things. The one thing I would just always tell you guys is reach out to Johnny. He's an awesome dude. The one thing I always just do tell people, only reach out if you have a real reason to reach out. And actually, and the reason I just say that is, your DMs are already full.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while to get back.
Absolutely.
But I just want to say, man, like it's been an absolute pleasure having you here.
Appreciate it.
And I'm just so thankful to have you as a friend, but also
man.
it's been amazing to watch your journey. Like I said, while you're hitting the top in med device sales, to go take that time. And now, even now, it's like to see you so happy, to see you so at peace, to see you so light, to see you just recentered with your family, with who you are.
For sure.
It's awesome because then it makes this even more fun to watch you crush it with Redefine.
Oh, for sure.
And get you where you want to go.
Yeah. So thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well,
and you're killing it too, man. All the success and all the people you're helping. I mean, I think it's huge. You don't get enough acknowledgement of actually helping people. I mean, I wish there were people like you when I was going through that and having that experience and helping people along the way. And like, having that example, it's just meaningful, and just know that you're doing the right work too and being able to help people. So thank you.
Thank you, man. That means the world. I just always tell people, is like, I know what it's been there, and it's like having family members who live off welfare, having people who, always got told, like, again, not doing that chip, but got told you'll never make it.
Yeah.
And then every single day we get to help amazing people make it and go change other patients' lives. That's patient focus. So I appreciate you saying that, man, because it is truly the best, just being able to help and bless others.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But dude, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Guys, if you can, press that like and subscribe button. Make sure you go follow Johnny on LinkedIn. It will help everybody out. It will help you out. But I just want to say thank you so much for staying with us, watching this. If you guys can please like this and share this with somebody that you feel like it could just be helpful for, it would mean the absolute world for us. And we love just keep making an impact. If you guys have any questions about learning how to break into medical device sales, you guys can always go to our website, newtomedicaldevicesales.com, or click the link below. Just want you guys to know we just want to keep helping the community, keep making you guys your best version of yourself, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.